Hello! Today we're going to be looking at an argument for God's existence from love. The structure of this argument will look somewhat like that of the moral argument. See, with the moral argument, you start by noting that its existence is a Moorean fact, but its existence requires certain metaphysical commitments, and these metaphysical commitments in turn require theism. In this video, we'll make an argument like this based on the existence of love rather than morality. The interesting bits, in my opinion, are the metaphysical commitments that fall out of at least my preferred analysis of love. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the existence of love being a Moorean fact. Basically, a philosopher named G.E. Moore once noted that when presented with an argument for a crazy conclusion, there's two possible reactions. One is to say, oh, these true premises entail this crazy conclusion, so I guess this crazy conclusion is true. The other reaction is to say, oh, this crazy conclusion is false, so one of these premises that entail it must be false. To choose between which reaction you yourself should do, you just ask yourself, which do you think is more plausible, that this crazy conclusion is true, or that one of the premises is false? Some facts, called Moorean facts, are facts that are so common sense, so obvious that, at least according to G.E. Moore, any philosophical argument against them will be constructed with premises less plausible than the Moorean fact, and the philosophical argument must therefore be rejected. These are facts like, I can know that an external world exists, or it is immoral to torture an infant for fun. These are more obviously true than any argument to the contrary. Now, the basis of this video is that when someone is actually in love, it seems that, at least from their perspective, the existence of love is going to be incredibly plausible, possibly reaching the status of a Moorean fact. But if it can be shown that the existence of love depends upon specific metaphysical commitments, then we'll be able to create a powerful philosophical argument from the existence of love. So what are those certain metaphysical commitments? To answer that, I need to perform an analysis of the nature of love. What is it like? What properties does it have? The metaphysically interesting part of love, which is going to be used in this argument, is that it is distinct from mere affection or appreciation, because where one's appreciation is grounded in the qualitative properties of the one being appreciated, love is grounded in qualitative and non-qualitative properties of the beloved. That's a big claim I'm making. What I'm saying is that love is grounded, at least partially, in the hexaity of the beloved. That's a fancy word. What's a hexaity? Well, it's a bit of a difficult concept to explain, but I'll do my best. Philosophers make the distinction between two kinds of properties, qualitative and non-qualitative. Qualitative properties include all physical properties, all mental properties, basically anything observable, and anything that stands in cause and effect relations. Man, that encompasses a lot of properties. What's left over for the non-qualitative properties? Well, some philosophers think that there aren't any, but others think that there are these properties called hexaeities. This is sometimes called a thing's thisness. It's a property which constitutes a thing's identity, this thing. As an example, let's consider Alice. She has a variety of qualitative properties, such as tall, friendly, and young. But she also has a non-qualitative property, her hexaeity. It's the property of being this person, Alice, and this person alone. Now let's contrast Alice with Alice double. Alice double has all the same qualitative properties as Alice. She is equally tall, equally friendly, equally kind, and has all the same mental and physical properties. She can't actually exist at the same time as Alice because her location is a qualitative property that's identical to Alice's. But Alice double is not Alice. Alice double has a different property. She possesses a different hexaeity. See, Alice double's hexaeity is the property of being this person and this person alone, whereas Alice's hexaeity is a property of being this person and this person alone. But if that explanation of hexaeity doesn't click for you, then the basic idea I want you to have is that hexaeities are these properties that don't do anything except ground an individual's identity, their property of being that person. Now, hopefully that elucidates what I mean when I say that love is based in both qualitative and non-qualitative properties. If Bob likes Alice because she's kind, then he certainly appreciates her, but he doesn't love her because kindness is a qualitative property. However, if Carl loves Alice because Alice is kind and because she's her, Alice, then Carl does love Alice. His love is grounded in a bunch of properties, one of which is Alice's hexaeity. There's a lot of intuitive plausibility to this. If Alice's qualitative properties change, then Bob's appreciation will either disappear or become groundless. However, we would expect love to be able to survive a change in Alice's qualitative properties. And in Carl's case, it does because his love is grounded in a non-qualitative property. This analysis of love explains its feature of persistence in the face of changing qualitative properties. It also explains several other features of love. One example is loving enemies. On the face of it, it seems kind of weird why loving one's enemies is actually a good thing, especially if one's enemies has only bad qualitative properties. However, if they're being loved for a non-qualitative property, then that makes perfect sense. One is not improperly appreciating a bad property, but loving their enemies for their enemies' own sake. For them themselves. I could keep going on about the virtues of this particular analysis of love, but I want to get to how we actually go from here to God's existence. See, this analysis of love includes two important aspects. First, for this analysis to be true, Hexaides must exist, which is kind of obvious. It's all based on us having Hexaides. Second, it requires that we all have the ability to mentally entertain Hexaides. This first part is important because people possessing Hexaides doesn't fit well with naturalistic theories of personhood. Where would this Hexaide be located on a physicalist framework? But if some other theory of personhood is correct, like substance dualism, then the soul can be the thing which possesses, or holds, the Hexaide. And this fits nicely with theism because theists have an explanation of how and why souls exist. For the second part, this analysis of love presents us with a mystery. Carl can discover the qualitative properties of Alice, such as her kindness, via his senses, and hold a concept of them in his mind. But if he loves her, and therefore is holding a concept of her Hexaide in his mind, how did he get that concept? Where did it come from? How did he, for lack of a better word, access her Hexaide? Well, theism has all the tools to provide a solution. God, either through his creation of Alice or just his omniscience, will definitely possess some concept of Alice's Hexaide. And God can then orchestrate in Carl some sort of faculty for recognizing and mentally entertaining Alice's Hexaide, whether or not Carl realizes that's what he's doing. This might seem convoluted, but remember, Hexaides do not stand in any cause and effect relations with anything. God just knowing about Hexaides through his faculty of omniscience gets around this though, because his knowledge isn't causal. Anyways, that's a sketch of the argument, and if you really want to show someone you love them, you give them an argument in a premise-conclusion format, so here you go. But that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support me on Patreon if you enjoy this content.